Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the BullParagon channel, where my goal is to share simple and effective trading studies and strategies with all of you. Today, because of popular requests through the Discord, we're going to focus on relative strength studies in Thinkorswim. So, in the Knights of the Roundtable Discord, where all of you will find the chat and a lot of the studies, um, we get a lot of requests, a lot of activity around the relative strength studies. And these are the studies that you see on the left-hand side of the screen. They're part of my daily trading setup, always watching them to see what's happening within sectors. So a little breakdown here. Let's bring this in a bigger chart so we can see this in a different time frame. Um, we're going to come back here right now on a daily chart looking at 1 month. And what we're looking at when you say, what are all these lines and how do we possibly trade off of all of this zigzag mess? So we find a starting point, which here is 1 month ago, and we're plotting out multiple tickers on one chart. This particular chart you'll see by the labels at the top are most of your major ETFs. These are ones that I like to watch for a variety of reasons and see how they behave together and where we get that relative strength, the relative weakness, where something pulls away from the rest of the pack. Um, I use SPY as my main line, and all of these studies and details are going to be available in the Discord. You'll see them in the BullParagon channel. It is a premium channel. You'll see a variety of different tools that I use in there. With this one, we're watching to see what happens within this group. And as the month starts, you see things are pretty tight. We look for that breakaway. We see things moving up, and as things move up, does something move down? We have here utilities move down, but at the same time, we see XLE, your main energy ETF, pull up and pull away pretty sharply. The whole purpose of this study is to catch these moves early when something pulls away. And if we did here a month ago with XLE, we're looking back at October 4th. Today is now October 29th. If we caught this early because it pulled away from the group, we had a very sharp rise where this started out 10% higher than the open of the beginning of the month and ended up 23% higher here at the end of the month. So we look for the big moves within the group. And again, these being the ETFs, a lot of times if we see SPY moving, which is going to capture the general market movements, and we see things moving with it, maybe it's up a little bit, down a little bit, we don't really pay a lot of attention. What we're looking for is either a big move early where we separate, or if we catch something that's moving sharply through the group, suddenly in the middle of the chart, middle of the month. You had that here in the QQQ. So as we look at the technology stocks, and these are your major contributors to the Qs, with the exception of T-Mobile and Netflix, are a little bit lower weighted, but I like them because they move. I'm sorry, T is AT&T and Netflix, but I like them because they move, and this is a great example why. We get this tightness in the group. You see one pulled down hard, and if you caught Tesla early, that's our light blue line, our cyan line. If you caught Tesla early in the month because it was already down 7, 8% versus the open of the month, and most of the group is pretty tight, slightly up in the beginning, and this is pulling down. If you caught that divergence and managed to get in, you took this all the way down to down 23% during the month and finishing the month down 14%. And the other big thing that we look for besides that pull away, this is very important with the relative strength charts, is to find that pull away. We're also looking for where a move comes in the middle of the cycle. So here with Netflix, we saw Netflix was pretty tight to the group. I wouldn't look at this as a major pull away here. We're a little bit below as things are going up. Not a major pull away. Things come down. Netflix comes down. Maybe this is your secondary leader after Tesla to the downside. But here's where the action is. As we start to see this yellow line come up and you see it come up and pull away, you had a strong move here. You might wait for the confirmation that it pulls away pretty strong. Maybe you're up 13% and you catch it up 23% at the end of the month because you caught this big move up. And you guys, we're looking at a daily chart here. This isn't intraday. This isn't anything you have to catch this at 11:30 and be staring at your computer. This is looking at a daily chart. So you can come here at the end of 1018 and say, wow, Netflix had a day. Let's see if this continues. And we get into this call 1019, 1020. And for the last week plus, week and a half, you've caught a pretty good ride out of Netflix as it's climbed up through the group. You've got another one here as well, and we can click on this to see. This is AT&T. Had another rise up there with Netflix, a little bit behind it, but rose up more than the rest of the group. So the very important thing here is we're looking for that relative strength. Yeah, the Qs are moving up altogether, but do you just want to play Apple? Do you just want to play Amazon, Microsoft? They're moving with it for the most part. We're looking for the strength within the group to see what is going to pull away to the upside or the downside from the rest of the group. Again, we're going to look here at XLE. This is another one that we saw XLE make its pull. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll say, okay, if XLE is my leader and that's my sector leader, maybe on the 5th, we're saying at the end of the day, what do we want to look for a call on with XLE? Is it XLE itself, or do I have a leader within the group? If we come over here to the 5th and we look for, do we have a defined leader? We don't yet. We have three or so here tied together in the top of this group. I would look for an XLE call at this point because XLE is leading the other ETFs, and I would watch for that pull away. A couple days later, we do get that pull away with SLB, that Schlumberger. So when we see that Schlumberger comes ahead of the rest, maybe on the 13th, you might look for a call on Schlumberger itself. And sure enough, wow, did it outrun the rest of the group. It went from 23% to being up 40, 45% at one point. And again, these percentages are based as its growth versus the start of the month. And we're looking at the baseline being the XLE. These thick white lines are always the baseline of this study. And the others I have set up as the major contributors to that ETF, the major weighting to that ETF. You guys will have all of these studies with the labels, with everything already set up for you in the Knights of the Roundtable Discord. Look for the BullParagon channel there, and that's where you'll see everything set up. It is a premium channel. The details are there. It's very low cost, and you will see a ton of studies and strategies that will help you define a lot of these initial trading setups and at a lot of these viewpoints. You're going to see this oscillator here at the bottom that we have as well. This is something that we came up with in the Knights of the Round Table Discord. We had a Friday night session, so I call this the Friday night oscillator. But we're looking at overall market strength versus volatility with this oscillator. And a lot of times you will see this thing pretty dialed in as to where we see volatility coming up and where we see buying coming down. You see moves in the market that coordinate with. We see this cross here on the 24th where we're seeing buying coming up and we're seeing our volatility coming down. And sure enough, from the point of that cross on the 24th, we've had things just scream into the upside. So you'll see this with a lot of these studies. It's an oscillator that I love to use. We came up with this from one of our power sessions on a Friday night. We get the nights together and we probably had 8 or 9 of us in a room just talking about different things we look at and found some combinations of things that work pretty good together and came up with our own custom oscillator from that. So you'll see a lot of that in the Discord. You all will hear me talk a lot about this Discord, but we have a lot of live trading sessions in the Discord. We have a lot that we talk about. It's Saturday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. And we've got Sparks in here posting thesis and posting outlooks overall in the market. Chief, who's always contributing, has got some thoughts that he's got some thesis for some longer term plays. As you come down, you'll see specific channels for the different nights who are the contributors in this group. You'll see my channel here where you see the studies posted. We'll do some live trading. We come down here, do live trading during the day. We'll have collaboration sessions on the weekend, and we've got a happy hour chat. It's a little bit more fun. That's some off hour stuff, but you're going to find a lot in there. This grand hall that you'll find near the top, that's the main chat we're all at. You guys will see an invite to this Discord in the description down below, but I'm going to take a minute and get back to the charts here. So we spent some time looking at daily charts on a 1 month view. You can back this out and look at it as a 1 year view. And when you back this out, it's pretty powerful. Let's go through and bring this down to just being one chart to see this pretty wide. When we look a year ago and draw SPY as our baseline to see where our pullaways are, now if you want to talk about long-term holds or maybe playing some leap contracts, you could see here, we had one move to the downside to pull away. This is ARKK. And if you caught this move late November, early December last year, we're down 67% from where the baseline started. And when you look at that relative weakness compared to the rest of the ETFs in the market, the pull away was solid. And when I see these moves, There are a lot of charts, especially on the higher time frames, when you see a pull away and one gets a considerable distance below the rest of the peer group, it tends to hold for a long time. And then when you do see it come back and it starts to cross back into the peer group, if this line had decided here that it was going to move up and cross back into the peer group, now you have your exit signal because that relative weakness may have gone away for one reason or another. Same thing here. You may have come up early and said, okay, we're going to get into XLV because XLV is strong here for a little while. XLV was strong from mid-November until it wasn't when it started to come back down into the peer group. And at the same point, our XLE came back up and crossed to the upside. And XLE really since late January, mid-January, has been leading the charge and has been running away ahead of the other ETFs. So do I want to look at it today when we're up 50% over the baseline a year ago ahead of the peer group? Maybe not. We might be a bit extended up there. You might want to add in because look, you could have added here and decided I want to take my position here and run in strong. I get a little concerned watching that we might be at this top and coming back down. So I might be watching this and watching for the next one coming up. We've got our yellow line here, which is the XLY. That one's starting to move up. You've also got here with our gray line, our XLV starting to move up. I might watch for one of these to come up with strength. And it doesn't have to be the first one, but if one of these pulls away from the rest of the group over the next 4 or 5 days, I would watch for a long-term call or leap position there. Same thing here. I might not be taking ARKK down here at the bottom because we're already so far separated. But if we start to see a move here and we start to see something that's going to come down and pull away to the downside away from the others, I'm going to look for that. So that's how we use the relative strength charts on a daily view. I'm going to break down a little bit for you and get into some other views as well. Let's pull up here. Here's one that I like. This is the 1 hour view. So I'll set this chart for 5 days on a 1 hour view. This is where we're going to look a lot for those swing plays. So again, I'm looking at 3 ETFs most of the time. I'm looking at SPY, which I don't have the top SPY holdings here. I have the top indexes that are going to show. It's a lot of the XLs, the QQQ I like to use for technology, but I'll be watching these ETFs on this chart. The reason why I don't use the SPY tickers here, because most of your top SPY contributors are also top QQQ contributors. So I'll keep an eye on those over here. Um, and then, of course, we've got the XLE to the right. And again, these are the heaviest weighted XLEs contributors. I've just added in Oxy and Devon because they get a lot of activity as well. So when we look at these and we see with SPY, and here we go, ARKK is not a SPY contributor, neither is EEM, but I have these added because I like to see how they perform with the ETFs. And sure enough, on this chart, we had ARKK, that one we talked about being at the bottom. Now in the short-term chart, we're showing strength. And this is why I said I might not want to play into ARKK on that daily chart. When we look at that year out, in the short term, that weakness may be going away, it may come back. So if you look at come back to strength, when you look and see, hey, we're 8%, we've really pulled away here from the group, and this gets up to being almost 14% up by the end of that 5-day stretch. So when you get that pull away, yeah, moves already happened. We might want to think maybe we're late, but how strong is that? When we see that kind of a vertical move, how strong is that move? Do we want to take part in this? And look, if you caught that ride up and said up to 15%, and then you see some down, maybe you got out here in this between 14 and 11 range. Maybe you stayed in and you held it out for the 5 days. Same thing here. We see one come into the downside, and we're going to look at that being XLC. That's one that pulled away to the downside and really came down. This is a little tight. You may not have caught it till it got all the way down, but on a 5-day chart, looking 1 hour at a time, this is giving us a good viewpoint to see what we're looking at. And just the same when we get to the Qs, we're looking over here and wow, did we have a move? This is meta. This I think a lot of people expected it, and we saw a huge move here. Again, you're going to have Amazon as well, and I think Apple was another one with earnings. You see these large moves, and you see some of these happening. This meta move happened overnight. It may have been so fast that there wasn't a lot to it, but even if you saw this and got in the next morning, yeah, we're down a lot, but you still had a very good intraday play here. Looking at this 1 hour chart, you could have taken this put at the open and Facebook or Meta, excuse me, continued down the entire day. So 2 days really. You've got hard 1 day down, maybe a little bit of flatness the next day. Same thing here. Apple was one of those overnight moves, but if you came in here yesterday on the 28th and took your call because you saw this sharp overnight move, you're still going to see where you've got a percent of gain that happened the next day, which there's a lot of opportunity for profit there. Tesla was one that, again, short term, we see this about 4 days ago. You saw this big move up, and then we look at we're at that 10% point. Tesla's gone up another 4% since then. I mean, these moves on swing plays off of this 1 hour chart, or even some intraday plays, if you saw this overnight move up and wanted to play it for a day, you still caught a great move for that day. This one's the XLE. We see things all over the place here, mostly moving together. Schlumberger, our dark blue line, did have some pull away from the rest, and you may have wanted to take a call. I tend to like to find the one that is leading the trend. If things are for the most part going down, I'm looking if there's a leader that's separated away to the downside. I don't like to fight against the trend as much, but there might be a reason why. Sometimes if everything's moving down and one thing's moving up, there might be something unique to that it's worth diving into and looking at. But these are just going to show us our trends, show us what's moving within the relative strength. If you guys have any questions, about this, I'm available in the Discord. You can ask questions in the Grand Hall chat. You can join one of our live trading sessions. Please come in and join the Discord for the Grand Hall. It is a free Discord for everybody to come and take part in. You'll see a lot being posted there, even on a Saturday. I will have a link to the Discord in the chat, and then from there, ask any questions, anything that you have, and look forward to talking with y'all. Thank you.